So, my hair is a mess, but I've definitely had worse days. How's it going? I've been gone for a while. The 12 of you that stuck around, big life changes have been happening. I've been getting well, basically. I lost a lot of weight, got in shape a little bit. I always knew that when the time was right, I was going to come back and do videos on this channel. I love talking about video games. There's always news. There's a lot going on in gaming right now. There's a lot going on in nerd culture in general. There's been a lot going on in my life. Been a lot of life changes. I also don't know where to look because this is new. The setup's new. But I'll figure it out. Minor update. I'm not going to harp on this for a long time, but I lost 205 pounds. Yeah, so I was 400 pounds. Now I'm 195 pounds. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So let's just move on. And now I'm going to talk about what I really want to talk about, and that's Resident Evil 9. I am a big Resident Evil fan. Anybody who knows me knows that Resident Evil 4 is absolutely my favorite video game ever. I mean, it's got to be 4. It's got to be Resident Evil 4. And now since the remake has come out, I had not made a video since the remake has come out. I'll just say this. It's a solid 10 for me. So there's been some news on Resident Evil 9, and I say news, take that with a grain of salt, because it's being leaked from apparently the source is some guy who is in a Discord server with a guy who's reliable. Okay. But the story is that Leon is going to be the main character, at least at the beginning of the next Resident Evil game. A big piece of news when it comes to this particular game is that it's said to be open world. They could just say we're semi-open world at this point. I mean, Resident Evil 4 Remake and Resident Evil Village are basically semi-open world. So you're just saying, we're open world now. I see it like that. They'll kill it. I trust Capcom at this point. And it's nice to have a video game developer that makes great banger horror games based on a classic title that you can trust. Looking at you, Konami. It also says it's going to be set in an island in Southeast Asia, with Singapore having served a serious inspiration. That sounds amazing. East Asian horror and folklore is like some of the scariest stuff, in my opinion. It's always been super creepy. But the idea that Leon is going to be the titular character of the next game, according to this leaker who knows nothing. Let's just be honest, he knows nothing. Wonderful. I don't care if it's Leon. I don't care if it's Chris. I don't care if it's Jill. It could be Claire. Whoever it is, my hope is that they get to be the main character. People have wanted Jill forever. Say they tag team this thing. Say it's Leon and Jill. Awesome. Well, Leon fans are definitely going to want Leon to be the main character. Hardcore Resident Evil fans have been wanting to see Jill get her own game since Resident Evil 3. So if you stick her in a game and she's playing second fiddle to any other character, it doesn't matter if it's Leon, then you're going to risk the fan base immediately turning on the game, at least to some degree. If you're going to have multiple characters, I feel like that is going to make this a difficult endeavor, especially if they're going to go with the same gameplay loop that they have in the last few games, because the games start to feel more like an RPG these days, the way that you level up your guns and you have all of your stuff. You feel like you're constantly gaining health, especially like Resident Evil 4 Remake. Also in Village, you play a small section as Chris, but you play the entire game as Ethan. It's going to be a tough balance, is my point. You have to make one character the main character, and then you can have a support character. Or you can do it in DLC, the way that Separate Ways did it. That works too. But if you're going to tell the story, the main story, give us a character to focus on. The two protagonist system can work, but if you look at Resident Evil 3 Remake, and the way that it worked in there, I feel like Carlos was maybe a little bit underserved, but I also understand why he couldn't be in it more. It was Jill's game. It should be Jill's game. And then you look at Resident Evil 2 Remake, and I feel like that's the perfect balance. But if you're going to do like a Resident Evil 2 Remake type thing, then it's legit gonna have to be two perspectives basically of the same story, which can definitely be done. Do they want to do that with what is supposed to be basically the end of the trilogy of trilogies? Okay, moving on from that, another thing that's being said is that they're supposed to be remaking Resident Evil, the original, again. And I'll just say this, if they make it, I'll play it. It's going to be good, but it's unnecessary because I feel like the Resident Evil remake from 2002 that came out on the GameCube is still perfectly playable. It's on like every platform. It's on PlayStation 5. It's on Xbox Series X. It's on PC. But that's neither here nor there to me. In my opinion, it just is. Unless they really are going to change some things. If they're really going to change stuff, then I would actually be really interested in seeing what those things are. Now, moving on to kind of the future of the franchise and where I would like to see it go. After 9, if you kind of wrap up this whole story that's been going on, you're going to remake 1. Say we're just taking this at face value. What comes next? I mean, in my opinion, you got to remake 5. Don't quote me on this, but I think it might be still the top selling Resident Evil game ever.
Wrong.
It hasn't aged particularly well. 5 is the one to do. I mean, like, I also see the argument for Code Veronica. That one should definitely be remade, but in terms of the next game they're going to remake, I would have to say it's got to be 5. You teased it at the end of 4, like, people want it. They clearly want it. My one thing would be, if you're going to remake 5, you got to bring back that Mercenaries mode, and it's got to be multiplayer online, because that is what really kept me coming back to that game. I would play with a guy named Captain Monkey 92. If you're out there, I love you, dude. The online culture now is a lot healthier than it was back then, so I could definitely see that being a big selling point, because they didn't do it in 4, and that kind of bummed me out that they didn't in the remake. Remaking 5 would be the play, and if they're going to end everything with 9, then I don't know. I just don't know how you do that. From a story perspective, like, end everything, like how? Like, is everyone gonna die? Are people gonna move on? Are you gonna bring new people in? You're gonna say, like, I just don't see how you would necessarily end the story that they set up with the original Resident Evil in one game. Because they really haven't wrapped anything up. Nobody's dead. Nobody really knows what Leon's doing. Or Jill or Claire, for that matter. Like, what's going on with everybody? So having said all that, I honestly think the games are only getting better, and I'm super excited about the future of the franchise. But I'm also super excited about the future of this channel. I love doing this just to have a conversation, talk about the things that I really love, like Resident Evil or video games in general, or as you can probably see in the background, I love comic books, nerd culture type stuff. And now I feel like I'm in the right headspace to be able to do that more consistently. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start dropping a couple videos here and there, just to dip my toes in about particular franchises or specific games and like what makes them great, why I love them. So I'm going to see how that goes. I'll probably try some of that soon-ish. If you like the way I'm doing things, then let me know. If you don't like it, I'm open to criticism. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm kind of just doing this for fun, but also I want people to I want to have a conversation. So let me know, hit me back, and I will hopefully see you guys soon.